And what a way to do it, right? First he wins with the black pieces, and then this match is getting all the pawns off the board, immediately finding that defensive resource before you could even spell it out, Aman, because that was the idea that I could feel you wanted to put on the board to defend e2, and Denis just played it instantly. And 2 points, and that's the first time we've seen that in the match. Arjun back against the wall. He's got to make a comeback in this one with white.
Yeah, and just because white is scoring so well, now that we've seen a win with the black pieces from Denis, it puts a lot of pressure on Arjun, not just in general, but in this game. Because you don't win with the white pieces, you constantly are fearing that suddenly you hand the game back. Hey, here I have the white pieces. Denis is going to win again. And then it starts to become a little bit too much heading into the bullet. Remember, there's not that much time left in this segment, Tanya, because even though we took a midway break, it was actually well over half of the clock used.
Exactly. And it's also because chess is such a psychological game like that, right? You always have these thoughts in your head. The players are as aware as we are about the dynamics of the pieces, about black scoring that win. For Arjun, he knows the math situation. And we sense the Greek gift here. I see by your arrow, Aman.
I don't know. I'm hypothesizing here because, hang on a sec, we have knight g5, and if the king goes back, I feel very good about queen h5. But if the king goes forward, I'm also looking at queen g4. So I don't know if that was missed there, but it looked really tempting. And queen d3, I got questions about f5. I guess we're getting rid of this piece.
I wonder if the defensive resource in that line could have been bishop takes pawn, king takes bishop, and just rumor me for half a second. Knight jumps forward, king g8. And when the queen came to h5, the bishop from f8 would have moved to maybe d6, hoping to run away.
Right.
And that's just the chess player in me taking over.
Well, that's the thing. I'm looking at that, and given the match situation, it's almost like maybe a big miss if you don't go for that. So I'm not sure if that's what the engine was spotting there, but we did see that it was given a question mark, the queen d7 move. I think Denis Lazavik might have gotten away with something big there, because look at this position, Tanya. I think it's fair to say with that d-pawn blockaded, the bishop pair for black, this is really, really nice for Denis.
And the problem with that d-pawn not moving forward is that the white bishop on b2 is pretty much a dead duck there, right? It's not doing anything. It can't get to that g7 square. It just looks like a beautiful position with black. Maybe still a lot of work to be done to convert this. But the only player having fun will be Denis Lazavik. More pieces coming off. If the rooks were to come off as well, I think even the pure minor piece endgame would be a very happy one for Denis.
Agreed. I was almost thinking about rook c8 in the previous position. Same idea with queen e4. Just trading off all the heavy pieces, the dangerous pieces in the position, and going straight for an endgame. Denis doesn't need to win this, but if anything, it's kind of like a play for two results game. Even in opposite bishop position, if we get there, I do think there's chances for black in that as well.
Especially if that opposite color bishop endgame has this bishop on b2 stuck behind its own pawn. Completely agree. Basically, this kind of a position almost feels like a two-result game. And that is a beautiful scenario in a match when you're up 2 points and you're playing with the black pieces.
Exactly right. Bishop on d5 is a total monster. Look at how good it is. We've got the rook on the c file, not just pinning the knight, because you also want to trade, and then the b pawn would hang. So I struggle to really find a good move. No surprise, Arjun down another minute on the clock. This is a familiar spot for him in this matchup, and it's starting to get a little bit desperate here. I'm noticing Denis is really picking it up over the last couple games, Tanya.
And we've spoken about adaptability in this format. While the players have done a fantastic job of doing just that over the board, I wonder if for Arjun that might be something to look at when it comes to clock time management going ahead in this match, because it's really been the 17th piece that he's struggled most with.
Rook back to c1. I'm at this point maybe looking at rook c6, a6, b5. The slow approach. King f7 is a great example of a move you should never play.
It's so easy to make, in these end games. If you're down by the seconds, you want to improve your pieces, and you might be setting just that up, walking away from any discovered checks. Also, your idea of a6, b5, he defends the b6 pawn. He wants to kick that knight out to get to the b3 pawn.
Yep, and there's knight d2, which you start to look at rook c7. Maybe you don't really like that one. I do think that black can also try to play for b5 to also invade that way. And there you go. There's pressure on the b file, but this does maybe help things simplify for Arjun.
And the big question here is if after bishop takes pawn, maybe you don't have to take that bishop and you can immediately grab on a7, because I don't really see a great discovered retreating move by that bishop, which would have put pressure on the b2 piece. Instead, Denis, it's so important, I think, for winning chances to keep pawns on both flanks, to keep that a pawn alive. Bishop g5, a
Yeah,
threat in the air.
yeah, you're not really going to win the game without it. But you know what, Tanya? Even if you get rid of those pawns, time is so low here that it's getting pretty concerning.
And finally, he does win that pawn, attacks the
Yep.
bishop, and now he can just go back. I wonder if that was a miss, or was there no good way to actually defend b3 in that position?
I don't think there was a great way to defend it. You can always make a case for rook a3, but I mean, to be honest, it might put you in a
Yeah.
worse position playing defense like that. So I understand why he was not interested. And now it's 3-on-3, but the quality of the pawns is completely different.
And that h-pawn, a beautiful passer that's going to go up the board. The f-pawns will be under fire, and Arjun finding some tactical resources there. I really like this move. You want to get rid of that bishop. The bishop, the problem child in your position. And after pawn takes pawn, he's going to start targeting with rook a5. Notice how there's no good way for black to defend the d5 pawn.
Yeah, that's a really classy move from Arjun back against the wall. He's down 2 points in the match, and it looked like it could have been more right there. He still has a defensive task ahead of him, but he's really made it easier trading those bishops.
He has to at all costs stop the bleeding in this one. Even if he doesn't get the win, a loss would be an absolute disaster here. I don't think it's over, and I think Denis will continue putting the pressure simply because of the clock situation again. And rook pawn endings can be so tricky. King f2 would have run into g4. The players bulleting their moves now.
Yep, we see a 2-on-1, which is a draw in a rook endgame, but you also have to remember with 6 seconds, anything can happen. Black is trying to play rook d4 to gain access to the f4 square for the king.
And now you'd want to put your king to g1, just making sure that the h-pawn doesn't advance further. King h1 would have probably ended up with rook g3, putting pressure on that f3 pawn. So still very tricky position.
Yeah, rook g3, king f2. If h2, there is rook back to b1, so he's going to go for that.
Rook h1, king g2.
Yep, you have to be careful. Rook h1, there is going to be king f4. That might be a losing endgame. 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds here, and he's going to put the king on h1. That, I think, is the right idea.
Very nicely done. And you cut the black rook from defending, and now your king is just perfectly placed in front of the only remaining pawn on the board, and this is going to be trivial to hold now. You could also take a pure king pawn ending, get the opposition. Very clean, very clinical by Arjun.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed by Arjun being able to defend that so effortlessly, finding the right moment to sack a pawn, temporarily trade the bishops because it looked really bad at some point. I think he can be happy with that result.